Hi guys, welcome to IAMABIKER, and we have been riding this. It's been available in the international markets for many years now, and finally, after having its wallpaper on my laptop for many years, we get to ride it. So let's check out what it's all about. So guys, well, my first impression, after waiting for it for many years, well, it's actually not as big as I thought it is. It's at least for me, because I'm 5'11", with the riding gear, and of course I'm not a thin guy. So for me, it's actually it's not as big. Let me put it that way. Like for example, I've ridden the Versus, ridden the Multi, but this is not as big, but in a good way. Actually, it's actually compact. So Honda has placed this machine as an everyday bike. In that way, I think it's a very happy thing that's not big and intimidating. So before we go into the in-depth review of what I think about this bike, let me tell a quick few things that I really like about it. First is that I like how it sounds. I mean, the parallel twin, I did not expect it to sound so good actually. So in lower gears, when you really open up the throttle, it really has got a very unique sound. It's a typical parallel twin sound if you listen closely, but it's got a rather sweet or rather deep exhaust note, and it's kind of addictive, especially in the first two gears when you're really accelerating out. It sounds really good. Second, what I really like is that it's got really plush and very soft suspensions. Now it has its downsides, but considering that you're going to use it primarily every day, this sort of bike is meant to be used every day. There's no point keeping it only for touring. So in that sort of a scenario, I think that's a really good point. And of course the riding position as well, extremely good. You don't get any fatigue. You can munch miles in this riding position. All right, the next thing I like is that even though it's got a 19-inch wheel at front, and you kind of think that it might be a bit of a heavy beast to handle and difficult to handle, in fact, especially in sporty conditions. I'm not talking about off-road here, but this vehicle is very well balanced. Even though this is close to 200 kgs with fuel, you don't feel that. If you don't look at the spec sheet before riding, you'll think it's somewhere around the 170 kgs. That's how well balanced and how flickable this machine is. Finally, what I really like is the road etiquette that this vehicle has. I mean, it's as good as any other good handling machine. You have fun. You can take those sharp turns, or you can wiggle through traffic, and this can do it all in terms of its road etiquette. Okay, now getting into the engine and performance of this machine. It's a parallel twin, and there are certain characteristics of the parallel twin that is very generic across all parallel twins, and this is also like that. It sounds good, it feels good, and every time you give the throttle, you feel like giving more of it. And the CB500X is exactly like that, and you get addicted to it. And add to that rather unique exhaust sound. You feel like you're almost obliged to almost open it up, especially when you want to hear it. You hear it very well in somewhere around the 2000 to about 4000 RPM. That's where you really feel the grunt of this machine. So of course peak power comes in at 6000 and everything, but this is where it sounds the best. So out on the highway, in 6th gear, you're about at 5000 RPM for the 100 cruise, and you take that to about just below 6000 RPM, and you can sit at about 120 all day. The best cruising speed is somewhere between the 100 and 120. Above that, engine does feel a bit stressed. It's not like it is stressed, but it just sounds a bit stressed. It can do top speeds of in excess of 160. I myself took it to about 150, and that is without really pushing it hard. So I'm sure it can do the 120, even the 130 cruise quite easily, and do it all day without any problem. And the best thing is that even though we did a lot of hard riding, the heat management is actually quite excellent, and there is almost no heat thrown back at you, onto your legs, onto your thighs. That is also something good, especially if you're considering it for city rides, where you're going to get stuck in traffic quite often, and also for long rides. So one good thing I really like is that how they have done the gearing for this machine. the first 2 gears are really short, and it sort of gives you all the torque that you will ever need. In fact, the second gear itself feels like a first gear because you have that much torque available to you, and even you can pull off from all sorts of dead slow situations in second gear without having to shift down to first. And for that matter, even in top gear, once you're in 6th gear, you can come down to speeds as low as 40, 45 and still pull away cleanly without the engine knocking and being all shaky. Okay, now coming to mileage, well, that's one place this bike has again surprised me. So it's been consistently giving about 25 regardless of how I ride it, and I've seen the live numbers, and if I ride it quite sanely for about 10-15 kilometers, shows numbers above 30 as well. So that is really good. So with a 17-liter tank, you have extremely good range for this vehicle, sort of like a fillet shuttle, and in fact I would say it's like a superbike commuter where you can use it every day and still be efficient. So earlier I said when I was saying the things that I really like about it, one thing I really liked is how the vehicle is balanced and you don't really feel the weight even though it's almost 200 kgs. So this is mainly for the road characteristics. On the road it's extremely good. Actually, personally, I would actually stiffen up the suspension a few notches so that it doesn't get a little bit too wavy on the highways, because our highways are not perfect, so you have those undulations, and if it's at the softest or even somewhere close to the medium settings, it sort of gets too wavy, because especially if you reach a place where you have these, so the vehicle sort of moves front and back. I would suggest get the suspension stiffened up a bit for a more comfortable highway ride. But yeah, if you are using in the city primarily every day, then keep it softest, because it really soaks up bumps very well, and even all those speed breakers and bad roads, it sort of handles very well. Now in terms of sporty riding, yes, of course the 19-inch front is not exactly the perfect combination for sporty riding, but that said, the vehicle is very nimble. Like I said, it's very balanced, so you get to take it in between traffic, tight spots confidently without losing confidence, and it does what you want it to do. Only place where I felt where this vehicle is probably a little bit lacking is if you want to really push it off-road. Primarily, the tires are not, the stock tires at least, are not suited for hardcore off-road. So if you're on a tour, if you're on, you're touring and you sort of reach a patch like this, hard off-road, not too much undulations, yes, you can do it aram se. There's nothing stopping you. But if you want to do some really good off-road, you want to put better knobby tires, and then it will handle better. But in stock tires, yes, you can do off-road much better than most bikes, but yeah, much better than most street bikes. But yeah, you want to do some extreme stuff, better change those tires. So yeah, and speaking about off-road, I wish the rear ABS was switchable, because that would have given you a bit more freedom to tackle those turns, because you really want to slide the rear wheel even a little bit just to make those turns off-road, so that the vehicle is pointing the right way and you can counter it. So a couple of usual Honda things that I really appreciate is that clutch is light, gearbox is slick, and the refinement levels are top notch. Even at higher RPMs, 7,000-8,000 RPMs, it's the vehicle still remains composed, and you don't have any irritating vibes that come in. One thing that probably you guys should know, its ground clearance is about 180 mm. So on the softest setting, if you have a pillion, some of our scientific speed breakers, some of them, those are too pointy, it does tend to scrape, but 99% of the cases you're fine, and this is more than enough ground clearance for anything, almost anything you want to do with it. So one thing I want to add in the handling part is that for taller riders, one thing you should be aware is that it is better if you get some sort of tank grips done somewhere over here, because taller riders tend to sit a little bit more behind, because you're tall. So but what happens is, when you brake hard, because of this seat shape, it's narrow in the front, and it's sort of sliding forward, narrowing forwards, you tend to move forward when you brake hard. So you sort of you get repositioned on the seat when you brake hard. It's expected, but you move, and then you need to get used to that. So I would suggest for taller riders, get something a bit more protruding, tank cards over here, tank pads over here, so that you're fixed in place even when you're braking hard. Okay, now coming to the braking, well, dual channel ABS, always good. On road braking, precise. You don't need to ask for more. It's pretty precise, and you can stop the vehicle wherever you want. Like I said, I wish the ABS was switchable for having a bit more fun off-road. But other than that, pretty good. The brake levers are also adjustable, depending on your finger length and your comfort, how you want to do it. But pretty good, and nothing really to talk about. Everything works as expected. So apart from that, build quality is really good. Like I said earlier, the meter console could have used a bit more bells and whistles. But right now, there's nothing wrong with it. It shows information like you would expect, trip time, average fuel consumption, etc, etc. So pretty decent. I would have liked it maybe a bit more bigger, but hey, it's my personal opinion. The windshield is pretty good, and it does protect you from a lot of the wind blast, and even at about 100, 120, it really protects you. It is adjustable, although manually, to 2 heights. Probably, but actually even right now it's at its lowest setting, and 511, it still feels adequate enough for my height, so that's pretty good. Again, typical Honda big bikes, what they have done is that they switch the indicator and the horn buttons. So it takes time to get used to, because especially we're taking this bike out for a couple of days, and suddenly when you're on the highway and there's not enough time to get used to it, right? And suddenly when you want to honk, you turn on the indicator. So that's something to watch out for, just in case it catches you by surprise. Other than that, typical Honda, lovely, and it's a beautiful bike. It sounds good, it's refined, and for me personally, I feel if there is one bike that you want to own and that can do it all, basically that can take you to work, that can do your regular commuting and do your regular touring, this is the one that you'd buy, because it's a no-nonsense bike. It's easy to handle, it's light, it feels light, and it can take you places, and it's got very good highway speeds, and good characteristics for our road conditions as well. So all in all, I like it. Tell me what you guys think about it, and of course I know the main point is the pricing, so let's hope Honda does something about that, and let me know what you guys think. So I'll see you in the next video. Bye.